All right, all right, all right. What's up, folks? We are live. We are live. Let's get into this one. Let's get into this one, man. Like I state, the last American icon. This is a true icon, a true leader, and this being no other than the Honorable Louis Farrakhan. And want to go ahead and speak about this piece that I come across. I come across it a long time, but I did not know the true history behind it. And when learning the true history behind this meeting between Betty Shabazz and Louis Farrakhan, I was like, this is some of the most profound shit when it comes down to what was attempted by the FBI, which is what's well known within the communities that we come from their attempts at going at organizations from in the communities we come from, turning Black organizations against one another. And the list just goes on to dismantling Black groups and, the comments from the scumbag FBI director, not the current scumbag, but the one from who reigned over the FBI for a long time and brought so much scandal and espionage and set up and cover up and destruction of many people's lives and the lives of various young Black folks in Black groups. Even with the nation that Louis Farrakhan has formed in the first version of it, or the version created by Elijah Muhammad, and upon his death, in the way in which that was broken up, their involvement in Malcolm X's death, and just all the COINTELPRO. This is really a guy who has seen all of this shit. This is a guy who's been a target of this by this nation, a nation that he is from, a nation that he has had to stand up and defend himself from, and also this being an iconic figure who has dealt with people still trying to label him and destroy who he is, destroy what he's about, destroy the image. And I can't rock with that. I can't rock with that. Salute to my brother, Michael Johnson. But so going into this meeting with Betty Shabazz, like I had seen it years ago. And I always thought it was a thing put on by Riddick Bowe's old manager, because the video I saw was formatted in that way. And so when I'm watching, I'm thinking that this is who end up bringing Louis Farrakhan and the widow of Malcolm X together. I had no idea about the assassination attempt that was put on Louis Farrakhan by the daughter of Malcolm X. I had no idea about that until our last week's show, when we speaking with Brandon and them, who are from the Nation of Islam. I think Brandon formed. I still call him a Nation of Islam member. He didn't backtrack. But so they got all this knowledge, him and Megazar, and they was speaking about this assassination attempt. I had not because I don't hear people talk about it. Like I say, one of the worst things with Black folks is how we let our history die, and then we sit here and whine and cry that white folks have taken our history from us. Like, get the fuck out of here. That is not what happened. It is the fact that we do not speak on our history. We do not pass this shit down. We move on to shit, and we can see, the evidence of that by the way in which we move away from various arts, whether it's the art of music, the art of dance, the art of whatever it is that we have created, and just move past, abandon it, and then cry when others pick up on it. And history being the one of the major components. And history is something that's passed down through words, sitting young folks down and speaking on this shit. So I said, I'd never ever heard about this, where Cubella, who is I think that's the youngest daughter, second to the youngest daughter, who was being accused and faced up to 90 years in prison, $2.5 million in fines, following the FBI coming out that they had got intel that the daughter of Malcolm X was attempting to kill Louis Farrakhan. And rather than Farrakhan going on the attack using this info from an informant, other intel being put out there, and the reason why I want to cover this is because I look at the way in which we see young folks today handle information like this, handle rumors, or handle various things that are told to you about you that come from other people. who pull off these same various tactics that you may see used by the FBI to create a rift, and hopefully that those rifts turn violent, and also to divide and break motherfuckers up. And Louis Farrakhan wasn't taking that shit. And rather than him going after Malcolm X's daughter and wanting to see her put away and creating a break and a further, split between, various views and groups amongst the black community and shit, are really to try to get people to turn against him if he went after the daughter and start to badmouth her or went into court to testify against her. He decided to come together with her mother and to raise a ton of money for the legal defense of this young lady who was being accused by the FBI of attempting to assassinate him. And with him having understanding and knowing after, the mistakes that they made when they were younger and the thing that comes about the Malcolm X situation, that there's government involvement when it comes to people like them. And that's what came out. There's some damn informant that she didn't, start to fall in love with. And this fool reaches out to the damn cops and the police put this dude on payroll. And from what I heard, I can't find nothing on this dude, but I heard not Malcolm X, but Louis Farrakhan speak on this dude. This is a white guy. I know he's just talked about him being a Jew or something like that. But let me go into this one, man. Like, this is some real profound shit from Louis Farrakhan. So here it is. It says, all right, so let me go up a little bit. And this is the Shabazz sanction. The FBI manufactured plot to kill Louis Farrakhan. So let me go down here. It says Quebel Shabazz. Let me highlight this. Quebel Shabazz has been framed in the murder for hire plot concocted by the FBI in an effort to divide the African-American community, sabotage a massive march on Washington planned by Nation of Islam. So this is all occurring around this time where he's putting on one of the greatest goddamn events we've seen in recent times, and we haven't seen one to follow up behind that, when he organized this Million Man March. And the Million Man March has such a profound effect, because I know gang members from out of Los Angeles that end up traveling down for that shit, and it was a turning point in a lot of their lives and the way in which they went about handling, situations as related to the community and way in which gangs got down. To where, as a kid, because I'm a kid, and where I wasn't really seeing a lot of these dudes around anymore. A lot of them really did turn their lives around. So it's right around the time he's planning this march on Washington, which is the Million Man March. It's planned by the Nation of Islam. It says, and further hamper the already embattled national black political leadership. The FBI's pitting of the Shabazz family against Minister Louis Farrakhan rips open old wounds that deeply divide the black community. It also serves to discredit those involved and to seriously drain physical and spiritual resources. Shabazz's remarkable team of defense lawyers, all of whom are working for free, say the FBI used a con man, and that's what it is, a freaking con man. This dude who they try to use has had a criminal record, has been involved in all type of stuff, being let off the hook, and they were paying this guy $45,000 to be part of this plot, breaking him off. That's good money for the 90s. Says they were working for free. Says the FBI used a con man to seduce, entice, and lure the vulnerable woman into a setup. Her friends, neighbors, and family, says, neighbors, family, and associates unanimously describe Shabazz as a decidedly non-political, poor, and incapable of plotting murder. Says not only are the facts surrounding the case and the FBI informant entirely consistent with documents, past cases of entrapment, extra-legal abuse, and violence, the case itself appears to be a part of an escalating nationwide program meant to, in the FBI's own words, prevent the rise of a Black Messiah who could unify and electrify the militant Black nationalist movement. The target, let's go into this. Like, this shit is some profound shit. I had no idea that this meeting was about this. Most people have been like, oh man, we at war with this mother, and not knowing, homie, you being set up. This a plot by these fools. And man, come on, man, we done seen it. A lot of things you be asking questions of, like, why is fools getting down like that? Why is the behavior of people like this? And not knowing, man, these people probably under the damn programs with these fools. Wait, why you block L5 player? Let me see. Let me see. Oh, okay, that was accidental. Salute to my brother Michael Johnson. Salute the L5 player in the building. He says, damn, Mike, he says I shot on error. Says part of myself. Wait, who? Wait. Shot on. Oh, Mike, let me give. Oh, man, Michael Johnson, let me give you a goddamn wrench. Hold on. So that don't never happen again. Hold on. Give me 1 second, Mike. Hold on. Hey, Michael Johnson, write a comment so I can put you in here. I could have sworn you had a damn hold on, let me add you. Could have sworn you had a damn moderator thing. There we go. All right, so continuing on. So the target. In a speech the day before Shabazz was indicted, Farrakhan told the crowd of 3,000 that the U.S. government is frustrated because there is no basis to bring me to trial. Says they're working feverishly to provide a basis to prosecute me. Minister Louis Farrakhan is undeniably an important political leader with anywhere from 50,000 to 200,000 active followers and respect among many more in the African-American community. That's fact. Says with the NAACP and what it says and what itself calls the worst organizational crisis in our 85 years history. The Nation of Islam is emerging as one of the most important African-American political groups in the country. It is also among the largest and best organized. Minister Farrakhan recently announced a Million Man March on Washington to take place in October of 1995. Says most observers agree that if any organization could command those kind of numbers and handle the logistics of what will be the largest political march in U.S. history, the Nation of Islam could. This makes the government extremely nervous. And so they pulled this kind of shit, which is wicked, twisted, and wild. And salute for him being able to recognize what gangs were being played. It is not the first time. In the months before he was assassinated, Martin Luther King Jr. was organizing a massive poor people's march on Washington. It was a nationwide project to gather what King called a multiracial army of the poor to descend on Washington for demonstrations and civil disobedience. King and his co-organizers were demanding the enactment of the Poor People's Bill of Rights, calling for job programs and the rehabilitation of urban slums. And it's crazy that even in King times, this type of shit still needs to be demanded. And this will happen when you turn shit over to these suit-wearing scumbags who create these goddamn conditions and then tell you to pray to God when they're the ones creating the goddamn conditions. And the thing is that as democracy, you can get rid of these motherfuckers. That's why people look at, and I'm gonna go back on a quick tangent that relates to this. That's why it goes back to when I was speaking about the kid Luigi, and where I knew he was gonna be praised for the act that he took down in Manhattan when he knocked off the damn CEO of what is that little healthcare organization, United Healthcare and shit. And he had the one dude who's always wrong on any time he run his mouth over here, Andrew Charles. Who ain't nobody said it, and then it comes out after I say that a week later, because I'll be ahead of a lot of this shit. People start praising him. Then nobody give a fuck about that CEO because everybody is starting to wake up and recognize how these people are fucking over this nation. It also goes back to watching a bunch of these Trump lovers who are starting to cry, bitch, and moan as they fall into the little trap of a little fucking suit-wearing Manhattan punk like Donald Trump, who talks this shit about immigrants taking over jobs. We're going to remove them. And it creates these situations and these dynamics. And it hasn't improved shit because it's all a lie from this chump. And as this Trump goes into the goddamn coffers of American securities and treasuries and shit to fill his own damn pockets and leaving everybody else with wet goddamn food stamps where the ink them fucking rolled off of it and you're left to starve. And now these fools is out here crying. And then Steph in the building, salute. He says, yo, what up? Says, be well. Says, salute to the chat. Salute, salute. So let's get back into it. So let's see. Let me see. He says, okay, that's what he's talking about with the King thing. Says how King was assassinated. So just months after initiating the project, King was assassinated. In recent years, evidence has mounted that the government was involved in King's murder. That's a fact. It's like the government involved in drugs into Los Angeles, drugs into every major urban city inside of America. And then you get a chump like Trump talking about what countries is bringing all these drugs in our country. Nah, you need to look in the motherfucking mirror. You need to fly planes and look over here. You probably find people that look like you, chump, flying this shit over here. Let's continue on. It says this includes revelations that in 1965, the FBI used the threatened release of surveillance tapes of King's with one of his mistresses, combined with a series of anonymous letters in an effort to convince him to kill himself. Cold-blooded motherfuckers. And I can see little Hapu carpetbag riding motherfucker Slurpee flipper Cash Patel trying to pull this type of shit within the FBI, and Trump trying to order that shit, and it's just failed because they're so incompetent and retarded. Says the entrapment of Quabella Shabazz has many similarities with past efforts to destroy Black organizing. Says, but this time it seems to have backfired. That's what I love about this shit. Is this dude recognized this shit and said, man, we ain't there about to go after this chick. We ain't there about to go after this family. They done been through enough. This y'all pulling that shit. And you know what we gonna do rather than go at her? We about to go organize, go into the heart of the Black community. We're gonna go to the other side of Manhattan where the Blacks are at, in Harlem, in the Apollo Theater, and they raised $250,000 for this chick. All right, so continue on. So says, but this time it seems that backfired. Says this in a remarkable show of rare unity, the African American community has stood as one in support of Shabazz. It is thanks to this that we know as much as we do about this disturbing case. This is the charges and evidence. It says the federal indictment charges Quabella Shabazz with 9 counts of calling and traveling across state lines to arrange the assassination of Minister Farrakhan. Like they ever cared about that shit. They are trying to further damage the damn legacy of Malcolm X, destroy this organization here, create more drama, they thought they'd have his hitman to go after this family, and then he'll get, they'll get a 2-for-1 on this one. It says the calls were made to Michael Fitzpatrick in St. Paul, Minnesota. It says between July 28th and August 22nd of 1994. Shabazz moved from New York City to Minneapolis September 6, 1994, after which the U.S. Attorney's Office said she made a down payment for the hit to Fitzpatrick. Shabazz's attorneys say she was first confronted with the allegations in late December. At that time, Shabazz signed an FBI statement about her role in the alleged plot, the exact nature of which has not yet been revealed. Her defense team is quick to point out that Shabazz signed the statement without the presence of legal representation. The government says the statement is central to their case. Prosecutors eventually admitted the alleged down payment was less than $1,000. Gradually, it has become known that the sum was only $250, an absurdly small amount for an assassination of such difficulty and magnitude. Furthermore, Shabazz is poor, receiving food stamps, housing, and medical assistance, and other state aid. A friend of hers in Minneapolis told the New York Times she didn't have no money. How she's going to hire a hitman? Bingo. The FBI says it has audio. The FBI says it has audio recordings of about 40 phone conversations, as well as undercover videotape of a meeting between Shabazz and Fitzpatrick, in which the hit is discussed at length. Federal officials have refused to discuss specifics about the recordings or any other evidence, saying it will all be brought out in the trial. Without a trace of irony, David L. Lillihan, I don't know, I guess that's how you say it, Lillihan, which ain't nothing close to being American, says the United States Attorney for the District of Minnesota, says whose office is handling the prosecution, told reporters, "We feel strong that this case must not be OJ'd." So remember that shit? They were pissed off with OJ and him winning that case where the drug addict lady that he used to be married to got herself killed, fucking around with drug dealers and other little unsavory people of society that lived up in the Brentwood area. Says a February 15 New York Newsday wire story said the FBI recorded about 40 phone conversations in which Fitzpatrick repeatedly told Shabazz he knew hitmen who would kill Farrakhan and told her to send him a post-dated check to help cover expenses. He also urged Shabazz to move to Minneapolis from New York, where she was living at the time. So this dude and brought this shit to her. And I think this dude is a white guy. Shabazz told her friend and she told her friends in New York that she was moving to Minneapolis because Fitzpatrick wanted to marry her. She also hoped to find better medical care for her 10-year-old son, Malcolm, which Malcolm is that kid, just to recently find out, he's the kid that ended up setting a fire inside, that ended up killing Betty Shabazz. So Betty Shabazz had died like 2 years after this shit. And this kid thought he'd set the fire and he'll be able to go back on with his mother, not understanding that his mother was taken away as a result of her sentence related to this situation. And so she ends up losing her mother in this matter. And the mother, you know, the grandmother was there to take care of her grandkid. Says YouTube blocked the Iran Lego cart, but shit, YouTube ain't the only place that Lego commercial playing. That shit all over Instagram. But we on this, we ain't on that Iran shit. Says on September 6th, Shabazz traveled by train to Minneapolis. Practically upon her arrival, Fitzpatrick took her the Holiday Inn Express took her to the Holiday Inn Express near Minneapolis St. Paul Airport, where a room had been rigged for video surveillance by the FBI. Look at these cold motherfuckers. Says in the early morning hours of September 7th, prosecutors say Fitzpatrick told Shabazz that the hit would take place on Friday night outside the Islamic Center in Chicago following religious services. At some point, Shabazz gave him the $250. According to other sources who say they have seen the videotape, Shabazz was expressing serious doubt, says even at this stage, and Fitzpatrick had to persuade her to go through with the plan. In mid-January, a federal official with direct knowledge of the case described a portion of the videotape to the Minneapolis Star-Tribune. He talks at length and she listens. She's not pleased, says she's coming up with objections, reasons why he shouldn't do it, said the official. He's talking about righteous sanctions, says, to have Minister Farrakhan killed. She's worried that innocent people could be killed. She's worried that there might be retaliation by Farrakhan's people against the Jews. So she's worried about this shit. This informant motherfucker from the FBI trying to push her through to it to try to entrap her. In subsequent phone conversations after the Holiday Inn meeting tape by the FBI, Fitzpatrick prodded Shabazz to give the go-ahead for Farrakhan's murder. But ultimately, she backed out of the plan. I'm very leery, Michael. Says, I'm very leery, Michael, of the whole shebang, she said. I'm afraid to have anything to do with it at this point. I have to rethink it. Fitzpatrick became enraged, saying Farrakhan is an enemy of the Jews. Says despite his attempts to persuade her, Shabazz never acceded to the plan. Indeed, by the government's own evidence, she appears to have been extremely reluctant about it at all. It says about it all along. So this is how cold-blooded and scandalous these motherfuckers are. That this is what they want to create the history of. Malcolm X's daughter arrested for this. And see, I never even heard this news of her being arrested. I'm 95, I'm all of 14. This is what people don't talk about. But I guess this shit may have been overshadowed by the OJ shit. The riots, OJ later, and this and that crap. It says if convicted, Shabazz could be sentenced to 90 years in prison and 2.25 million in fines. She must attend a pretrial hearing on February 22nd, the day after the 30th anniversary of the assassination of her father. Says at that hearing, Shabazz's defense team will file a motion with U.S. District Attorney Judge James Rosenbaum for dismissal on grounds of outrageous government misconduct. And here's a quote, says part of it is setting her up. William Kutzler told reporters, and this is why we need more black folks going into fucking law. We need more black attorneys, so I don't have to be reading names like Kutzler and all that shit, knowing these people are brought over too and shit. But you know, salute to them for going through the programs of law and getting their degrees and all that shit. But this type of shit must change. So that's what William Kutzler told the reporters. And then the fact that we always got to have lawyers that the fuck up, the people who be fucking up and end up in court and gotta go through trials, always hiring lawyers that don't look like you. And then for people that do go into law, man, please be righteous in the way you do business. Don't be a scumbag ripping people off and not giving good business, or like Kripnak says, good business. Be fair, do good business. Says part of it is unabashed. Says the unabashed release of what the government considers a prejudicial material through the media to poison the atmosphere. Part of the government misconduct is entrapment. The trial itself will likely not convene until May. The false witness. Let's see, false witness. Let me highlight all this, see if they go into who this dude is. Man, Farrakhan and them are righteous than a motherfucker and genius as hell to even see through this shit by the government and how they play both sides of this shit within the country against its citizens. The same shit you see Trump targeting citizens of this country while kissing the ass of people outside of this country. All right, so false witness. It was the defense team who revealed the identity of the FBI's hitman informant. The FBI and prosecutors tried to keep him shrouded in secrecy. That's why I can't find nothing on that fool. They didn't shroud this fool in secrecy while breaking him off $45,000. I try to find pictures. I want to see who this fool is. Don't have nothing of him. Let's see if he described in this. And once again, this is my first time reading this piece here too. It says the FBI and prosecutors tried to keep him shrouded in secrecy. Says, but were required to divulge his identity in the indictment proceedings. Says, considering what has become known about him, it is little wonder that federal officials still refuse to confirm or deny any details. Michael Kevin Fitzpatrick says, alias Michael K. Summers, age 36, is a paid informant who perfectly matched the profile of the Bureau's infiltrator/provocateur, and has been involved in a number of FBI operations against political targets over 15 years. Wow. His first job as an informant was at age 18 in 1978 when he helped bust a planned bombing by the Jewish Defense League. Since then, he has been in the Federal Witness Protection Program, while simultaneously fomenting violence among political groups of wildly differing ideologies. And this is what people of these groups, organizations have to be mindful of, seeing the type of shit these people will try to pull with you. Whether you have your rallies and this and that shit, and you know, just got to watch these people and recognize, even mainly for citizens to recognize this shit. And so Fitzpatrick and Shabazz met and became friends when they attended the United Nations International School, an upper crust private high school in Manhattan. Former classmates tell reporters that even as a youth, Fitzpatrick was a charmer and a bit of a con artist. They describe him as a misfit who sometimes carried a gun to school, threatened other students, and barely managed to skirt by without getting expelled. Because he was who knows, FBI is telling school, don't suspend him. He's a special kid for us. Says in the words of the New York Times, says he was notorious at the school for being confrontational, seductive, and persuasive, as well as eager to become involved in controversial causes. Who was that? Chaim Ben Pashik, I guess that's how you say the name, a former Jewish Defense League member and friend, recently told reporters that Fitzpatrick hated African Americans and called them very easy to manipulate. That's the way he feel about it. So he is white. So this is a white guy who they had to pull this shit. He hated black people, said Pashkar, says, but he never called them black people. He used the N-word, Nigger. Says he despised black people, loathed black people. Says Sarah Gordon, a friend of Fitzpatrick, told the Washington Post that he fancied himself as a freelance mercenary. Two other former associates of Fitzpatrick, quoted by the Associated Press, also characterized him as a violent racist. Type of people y'all be sitting on the internet listening to that ain't got a lot of black people buying in this mega shit. That dumb shit that Tariq Nasheed is on. FBI funded shit. Says more recently, says an unnamed former employer in Minneapolis quoted in the January 23rd, 1995 issue of Newsweek called Fitzpatrick very deceptive. He has the ability to look you in the eye and say one thing, then do another. The man said he's an extremely good salesman, very believable. And that's why I don't like people that do all that selling and talking. That's why I don't engage in conversations with a lot of motherfuckers, especially little sly talking motherfuckers, always want to sell or push shit on people. That's your ideal, especially people want to push money-making ideals. Then get the fuck away from me with that shit. I don't trust them. I look at people who do that kind of shit as informants. Like, I don't fuck with people like that. And then, man, come on, man. There's just a lot of shit that I can't speak on this motherfucker. That I can't speak on this shit in this motherfucker. Ain't nothing gonna happen. Fitzpatrick first became involved with militant extremists when he joined the Jewish Defense League. Says a right-wing Zionist, he one of these bitch-made people. Just covering this shit. This hoe-ass Zionist shit. Says a right-wing Zionist group founded by Rabbi, Meir Kahane, man, these fucking foreign-ass names. Whatever that name is, says, who was gunned down in 1990. Over the years, the Jewish Defense League has carried out numerous terrorist attacks against Soviet officials and cultural groups, as well as U.S. leftist and African-American organizations. Oh, never heard of this shit. In 1977, Fitzpatrick was arrested by the FBI for his role in the bombing of four continent bookstores. The Manhattan bookstore specializing in Russian language books. Agent Dan Scott of the FBI's criminal terrorist squad in New York City recruited Fitzpatrick as an informant against it. So he can do all this shit and then get recruited. Same shit they bring up with white kids who can hack into shit and be, bank robbers and counterfeiting things, and then they give them jobs. Like, get the fuck out of here. Oh my God. Says in exchange, his charges were reduced and he was ultimately sentenced only to probation. Sound like what they were allowing when they were allowing the South Americans to funnel drugs in here for Reagan and all them. And when they get busted, they end up getting off and getting probation. Says Chaim Ben Pashak. I'm fucking the name up. A member of the Jewish Defense League who knew Fitzpatrick at the time told the Associated Press, this was a high point in his life, says going around wiring himself and secretly record incriminating conversations. This is foul as fuck. They did this. Salute to Louis Farrakhan and him. Later in 1978, Fitzpatrick's work helped Agent Scott and the FBI foil a Jewish Defense League plot to bomb the Egyptian government tourist office in Manhattan. Says while it is unclear who exactly instigated the plot. The December 1978 New York Times reported that Fitzpatrick was one of the people seen carrying dynamite outside the tourist office just before the bus. Fitzpatrick, the paper says was the only perpetrator not taken into custody on the scene, and that he didn't even appear in the federal indictment papers. 2 Jewish Defense League members were eventually sentenced to prison for the attempted bombing: Victor Vancier and Bruce Berger. Agent Scott, now retired and living in Atlanta, recently told the Chicago Tribune that Fitzpatrick also had information about an assassination plan against Baltaros Gahili, says, who was then was Egypt's ambassador to the UN. So they lied in this Jewish ass fool doing all this other shit. His Jewish ass done pulled this girl in this shit. Man, salute to Farrakhan and them recognizing this shit. Because I'm going to play the video of them speaking on it, because this video is so profound, man. Just listen to one of the great leaders speaking this shit. Says officially, Michael Fitzpatrick says went into the witness protection program and was given the alias Michael K. Summers, and then left New York. Says, but rather than maintaining a low profile like Alpo, he continued to participate in extremist politics and apparently even expanded into arms dealings. And guess what the FBI did? We see you, Fitzpatrick. You need to do this a little bit better, Fitzpatrick. Yeah, sell the gun to them niggas. Yeah, fucking. That's why you gotta watch this shit, man. Overboard, this wild shit you find with these gang motherfuckers. I be looking at that shit like, you motherfuckers are some goddamn FBI ass motherfuckers. There ain't nothing gangster about none of this shit. And that's why I need to get on the camera and record this shit. Like, you motherfuckers, FBI motherfuckers. And you see the shit, the way the Big U shit went down. All these Adam 22 niggas can be on camera. Adam 22 probably part of this program. Adam 22 a fucking agent and shit. And that's why I be knowing how people ain't got knowledge of shit, and how the fact people don't know what FBI agents look like. People trip when it was that one black FBI agent when he was out on the weekend and he was dealing with a cop harassing him. And he was trying to conceal who he was. He didn't want to tell the cop that he's an FBI agent and shit, because he looking at him like he's just a regular street thug motherfucker. And come to find out he an agent, because these white boys have this little fucked up concept of what law enforcement official is. And because a black motherfucker don't do the job right. You don't do the scumbaggery that you find with white folks, and the white agents be the ones pulling people into these fucking confidential informant shit while allowing these people to do violent shit towards, activist groups. Like, this shit is bugged out reading this shit. Says a former school buddy of his told Newsday that Fitzpatrick actually went underground at that time and began recruiting and supplying weapons for a group called the Revolutionary Youth Movement of the Communist Party. They got all this type of shit going on. Fitzpatrick says a convicted bomber of Russian bookstores apparently not only made a miraculous conversion, says, from right-wing Zionism to revolutionary communism, says, but was aiming a secret militia while under federal protection. You got to watch these people, man. It's a lot of this type of shit going on. Like, I go back to the time in the military of what they tell white soldiers, and white soldiers only, about this oath they swear. When we all go in there, we swear an oath to the Constitution and to the United States, but they got to tell the white motherfuckers about joining these extremist groups, these anti-government groups, and all that other shit. You ain't got to tell black people that shit. You may tell them, man, don't join your gangs and Crips and Bloods and shit. You got to tell the damn white folks, because they worry about them plotting to overthrow a government. But then at the same time, they hire these motherfuckers. Or you get a president like Trump who will pull these type of people off the list because they white groups. And they listen to a dog whistle of a pussy like Trump. Says the rather elusive, let me go with what this acronym means again. What was that shit called? The Revolutionary Youth Movement of the Communist Party. So the RYMCCP, the Revolutionary Youth Movement of the Communist Party, may actually have been a front group for an FBI counterintelligence operation. The Bureau has a history of creating sham political groups, usually with an extremist bent. Past groups have presented themselves most often as Maoists, says, while some were ostensibly pro-Cuban or pro-Soviet. So the FBI fronts are designed to disrupt radical movements, unified with genuine groups to gather intelligence and instigate illegal activity to entrap activists in prosecutable crimes. It is known that the FBI ran at least two such bogus organizations in the years immediately prior to Fitzpatrick's adventures with the Revolutionary Youth Movement. The Red Star Cadre in Tampa, Florida, and the Red Collective in New Orleans. Two people involved in the Red Star Cadre also served as FBI infiltrators during the Wounded Knee uprising at the Pine Ridge Reservation. There, a campaign of vigilante murder, FBI infiltration, blackmail, and entrapment ended with a full-scale military invasion of the reservation. When it was all over, many Native Americans had been killed. More like, I got to read on this shit. I don't think I ever heard of this. Hold on, let me add this to my research. It says Wounded Knee Uprising. I got to see this shit. Hold on, let me copy this, put this over here, because this is what I do, homie. Put that over here. Hold on, give me 1 second while I save this, because it's going to be something I'm searching later, get some info on that. Because I never heard of that neither, that they killed all these natives, but didn't do nothing to the guy, Bundy, who had people had that standoff with the government pointing guns at him. Native Americans have been killed. More like says Leonard Peltier says were in prison, and the American Indian movement effectively neutralized. Killed that shit, like the Panthers. Minnesota anarchists targeted. Let me see, who is this? The Black Anarchist books is by the mid. So this is on this white dude who the FBI try to hire to have Louis Farrakhan killed. So of course they bring a white dude in to try to influence a black chick going through some shit who happens to be the daughter of Malcolm X. By the mid 1980s, Fitzpatrick was living in Minneapolis. In 1986, he fell in with a local collective called Black Room Anarchist Books. Christopher Gunderson says, who was a key member of the group at the time and is now living in Manhattan, recently issued a written press statement in which he identified Fitzpatrick as an agent provocateur, describing him as a man who worked at deceiving others, like he tried with this lady. Says, my experience with Michael Fitzpatrick confirms the charge that he is not only an informant, but a provocateur who actively encourages illegal actions in order to set people up for arrest, he said. Gunderson says he first met Fitzpatrick 8 years ago at a political rally when Fitzpatrick got into a scuffle with police, which is fake, probably. At the collective, he wasted little time in encouraging illegal violence. A member of the group who requested anonymity told the Nation of Islam's newspaper, The Final Call, he immediately began talking about ultra-violent tactics that were totally out of context with what was going on. He suggested bombing a currency exchange. Fitzpatrick works tirelessly to get members of the back room to commit themselves to an escalation of the militancy of our stance and tactics, Gunderson said. He thought we should carry out some sort of attack on a polling place with guns or Molotov cocktails. This is the shit that the FBI and doing proper functions are constantly watching white kids. But they'll rather watch if I make comments about this bitch Patel and make these little comical statements about the motherfucker called Trump and him a bitch, rock with Iran, embarrassing pussy ass Trump, doing what they have to do to defend their nation. They would probably watch a black motherfucker before they watch some of these white dudes who can be plotting to go to school tomorrow and blow the motherfucker up and go Rambo in that motherfucker. And he be on this internet doing all this shit and they won't watch him. He's just a little kid being himself. Look at him. He's going to be a scholar. We may recruit him into our informant program. All right, Gunderson and other members of the collective became concerned. My suspicions, and this is what they tell it to the Nation of Islam's paper. My suspicions were confirmed thereafter when I learned that Michael had bragged to a woman he did not know was a friend of another member of the back room that he had infiltrated the Jewish Defense League and had served time in prison for some bombings. We came to the conclusion he was an agent provocateur, since the Backroom Collective expelled Fitzpatrick for his illegal provocations. The group continues to produce and distribute political literature in Minneapolis. High-level involvement. So let's go into this. Let's go into this. Like, man, this is just so on point. So fucking on point that they don't engage in going after Kabbalah. They knew exactly what this shit was. They knew exactly what this shit was and where it was coming from. Hold on, I was trying to highlight the whole thing, so I'm gonna keep doing this. So I highlight this for the segments that I'm in and to follow along for those who can read as I move the screen, but no need to worry because I'm reading it line for line for those. Because I know a lot of people listen to live shows and they may be at work, they may be at jobs where they can't be in their phones looking at it, but they may have an earpiece in, tuning in. So I got y'all covered. I understand. That's why I don't be bugging and doing all that crybaby shit. People ain't hitting the like button, all that dumbass shit. So in the says in the Shabazz case, says the extent of coordination between the U.S. Department of Justice and federal prosecutors in Minneapolis has naturally become an issue in the wake of the allegations of entrapment. The Justice Department at first denied any close involvement in the case. However, the January 17 New York Times revealed this to be false. Carl Stern, a spokesman for the Justice Department, admitted to the New York Times that federal prosecutors in Minneapolis had sent 3 urgent reports to officials in Washington beginning in November 1994, 2 months before Shabazz's arrest. Says such reports are used to alert top officials of sensitive cases. Stern said the 3 reports advised the department of developments in the case against Shabazz. Furthermore, attorney Liliha told the New York Times he was careful to keep the Justice Department informed of his actions. Both our office and the local FBI, he said, are fully comfortable that we carefully and repeatedly advise our headquarters about the progress of this case. Justice officials also admitted Liliha, I guess that's how you say this effed up name, Lily Hogg, says had extensive discussions in November 1994 about the case with top aides to Joanne Harris, head of the criminal division. A lawyer from the department was also assigned as a permanent monitor for the case. The Justice Department continues to deny that senior officials such as Attorney General Janet Reno, remember Janet Reno, big butch bifocal chick? Janet Reno's the first chick I remember. She the one that added some more. She made that big ass press conference I remember about child support. And she the one that turned these bitches crazy with wanting child support all the time. Says the Justice Department continues to deny that senior officials such as Attorney General Janet Reno and Deputy Attorney General Jamie Gorelick says had early involvement in the case. Aside from simply being difficult to believe, the denials do not mesh with the foregoing disclosure or what statements made by a representative of the NOI. Specifically, the exact time and the nature of official warnings to Farrakhan have been the topic of conversations. Denise Minor, an FBI spokeswoman in Chicago, told reporters that Farrakhan was advised of the threat several months ago. However, the Nation of Islam leader have refuted the FBI's claims. See, that's the FBI pulling their bullshit. Says Leonard Muhammad, chief of staff for the NOI, said the FBI had a briefing, says they had a briefing with them in October, but that they misrepresented key details. Muhammad said the NOI had been told that a group of Muslim extremists had been plotting to kill Farrakhan. Neither Fitzpatrick nor Shabazz are members of any Muslim group, extremists or others. And if anything, Fitzpatrick was a member of a Jewish organization at one point in his life after he took them down. The chief attorney for the nation says the degree of imminent threat was also apparently miscommunicated. Minister Ava Muhammad told reporters that we were not aware of any ongoing threat until yesterday, January 12th, so just prior to the indictment. Minister Muhammad said the FBI had not asked for a meeting until 9 a.m. on the morning of Shabazz's indictment was to be announced. I find it very disturbing, she said. The U.S. attorney would plan to make a major public announcement involving Minister Farrakhan, and they would only want to notify us a few hours before an announcement. The NOI spokesman, Munir Muhammad, speaking on the local television program Chicago Tonight, said that when Minister Farrakhan was informed of the possible murder plot, he personally traveled to Washington to meet with Attorney General Janet Reno. Reno declined to meet. She declined to meet with Farrakhan. Was Reno trying to maintain the veil of deniability? Let's see, the powder burns. What's the powder burn? The evidence on behalf of the informant later. Let's see. Okay, here, let's go into this. Let's go into the powder burn. This is about the money exchange. So I see some numbers in here. Let's check this shit out. What was they paying this scumbag? What was they paying this scumbag? It says COINTELPRO never ended. We'll go into that. And it still ain't ended. You still see that shit going on. You see it on the internet, though. And it's easy to recognize some of this COINTELPRO shit on the fucking internet amongst popular goddamn channels and shit. And amongst gang members or people from street culture who want to be popularizing shit and allowed to influence it. So much of the action ain't just to be the actions of seeing the people do violent shit, but to have them talk in such a way that making this shit acceptable, to highlight and hiding violent, ignorant behavior. I think even some of that COINTELPRO show, and you watch a lot of these shows that women like to watch with girls fighting all day on the show. The highlight of the show is these bitches fighting and punching. Then you see the actions in the way they get down in regular society. Powder burns. There is also evidence of Justice Department interference on behalf of their informant no later than September of 1994, 2 months earlier than they claim they became involved. Woo, they busting the goddamn FBI with all these goddamn lies. On November 23rd, 1993, Fitzpatrick and his then boss, Harlan J. Rosenfeld, were arrested in a drug bust. Damn. So this fool will be arrested for drug-related shit and just walk off. Boy, the FBI, all this law enforcement shit ain't shit when it comes to people like this. Says were arrested in a drug bust in Minneapolis, by Minneapolis police. The two men had worked together for about 2 months for the International Rarity Group, says a gold and a precious coin dealership where Fitzpatrick was earning $12,000 a month. That's good, very good fucking money. And this is 1995. So he was making hellified money. Police caught the man trying to flush plates full of cocaine down the toilet. They also found crack pipes, marijuana, foil, commonly used to package cocaine for sale, says Ann, in a dresser drawer, a black vinyl bag containing $16,500 in cash. Both men admitted to cocaine addiction. Rosenfeld said he was spending $1,200 a week on it. Despite being traceable by federal witness federal witness protection authorities, Fitzpatrick has failed to appear for numerous court dates with total impunity. His attorney, Dennis Palm, has been trying to get out of the case for some time because I don't have much communication with him. So little that until the Shabazz story broke, he knew his client only as Michael Summers, his official alias. This despite the fact that Fitzpatrick was arrested while holding 2 different ID cards, a Minnesota state ID as Summers and an unspecified piece giving his true identity. Police say he claimed to go by both names. Palms told the New York Times on January 13, 1995, that it has been real strange. That has been a real strange case. I show up for court and he doesn't, and the case just doesn't. Just gets postponed. The reason the county hasn't really pursued. The reason why the county hasn't pursued it is because they're after bigger fish. Summers is more of a witness in the case than a defendant. Palm also told the Minneapolis Star Tribune on January 14, 1995, the drug case is not necessarily still pending because of my client being in the witness protection program. There are other factors that have to do with the co-defendant in the case. Emphasis added. Palm's statement suggests that Fitzpatrick may actually have been part of a police drug sting. So now he get pulled over the drug sting with the police. This motherfucker part of this shit. Says this seemed increasingly likely when it was learned that Tony Boza, the former chief of the Minneapolis Police Department, had been a member of the New York Police Department infamous Red Squad, officially known as the Bureau of Special Services. In fact, Boza had personally participated in surveillance operations conducted against the Nation of Islam and Malcolm X at the time of his murder. Wow. Boza had personal knowledge of the infiltrators the Red Squad had placed in Malcolm's organization and security detail. They included Officer Gene Roberts, who administered mouth-to-mouth resuscitation to Malcolm X as he died. The New York Police Department worked says intimately with the FBI on this and many other COINTELPRO operations through the Bureau's counterterrorism division, the home of Dan Scott, Fitzpatrick's handler. The NYPD has also long been a part of a secret nationwide network of 159 police agencies in 35 states, which has illegally shared and disseminated intelligence on political activists unaccused of any crime. The police says intelligence work was investigated by the federal grand jury in Chicago, which had to wait 8 years for police files to be found. According to the grand jury findings, the network included police in Minneapolis, New York City, and Chicago. Fitzpatrick last failed to appear for a court date on January 17th, the day before Shabazz was indicted in federal court. In fact, his former landlord in St. Paul says he moved out in September, leaving no forwarding address. The pre-dawn hours of September 7th was when Fitzpatrick met with Shabazz in the FBI video room at the Holiday Inn. Fitzpatrick has not been seen since. Although Shabazz and others spoke with him later, it was always through phone calls, which could have originated from anywhere. Rosenfeld, his co-defendant in the cocaine charge, says he talked by phone in early January with Fitzpatrick, who said he was in New York. Doug Thompson, Rosenfeld's attorney, says he last spoke with Fitzpatrick by phone on January 6th, when he said he might not be around for a while. The Justice Department has no comment on the man's whereabouts. For whatever reason, Fitzpatrick's flagrant conduct has in fact gone entirely unpunished by the courts or police. Indicted drug suspects are not normally belittling. Let me get this word. Let's get this word put in the glossary. Belittling. Let me get this word in here and get a definition on that shit. Let's see. Blithely. So I got that in. Blithe. Let's see. Almost sound like lively. Blithely. Hold on, let's get this word here in the glossary. Hold on. Let's get it pronounced for y'all trying to pronounce it as well. All right, and get it sounded off for you too.
Blithely.
Blithely says in a way that shows a casual and cheerful indifference considered to be callous are improper. In the sentence, they blithely ignored any evidence that did not support their theory. It is in a way that shows a casual and cheerful indifference considered to be callous or improper.
Blithely.
Blithely. All right, so there we go. So we got that out the way. Let's get back into this history here. This history. All right. So for whatever reason, let me see. Let's go on this. And then I can go in the video, I think, after this. COINTELPRO never ended. I don't think I need to go so much into that. Says, for whatever reason, Fitzpatrick flagrant conduct has in fact gone entirely unpunished by the courts or police. Indicted drug suspects are not normally so blithely allowed to miss court dates without so much as a contempt of court citation. They are certainly rarely allowed to leave the city, let alone the state. Such unusual treatment suggests intervention by high-level officials like Pam Bondi and all them going on currently with the Trump and Epstein shit. Beginning absolutely no later than September 1994 when Fitzpatrick vanished. Says this is a full 2 months before Justice Department officials claimed they began their supervision of the Shabazz case. COINTELPRO never ended. Let me see, I ain't gonna go into that. COINTELPRO today, you see that right there. They're speaking about this current situation with her. And slowly tighten news. Leave that on the screen for those who want to go through this live stream. Maybe pause this, listen to this part. It says the quiet, troubled life of Kabbalah Shabazz. So continue to part 2. Let me see. Okay, so let me read this quick part. I don't know why they don't have. Well, they let this dude disappear. It says that says the informant sat on the stand, telling the court he had been promised $45,000 by the FBI to ensnare her in a murder plot. So they offered this dude $45,000. Dressed in a tight gray suit, he looked as if he had just come from a normal day at the office, but hidden beneath his pressed white shirt, a Grim Reaper tattoo leered from the says from the right arm. I wonder if this dude is somebody high up in this current administration, like this dude, and the fact that you can't pull nothing up on them, the fact that they get to change their names and all this other crazy shit. So like I said, there you go. They were gonna give this dude $45,000 to set up the daughter of Malcolm X, to persuade and push her for this goddamn assassination plot, all while setting her up by a dude who has a history of this type of foul, backstabby shit. Let me go in the comments and then I'm gonna go into this video. Let me see where we at. Let's see. Pittsburgh T says, "What up?" He says, "YouTube just annexed the Iran animated Lego artificial intelligence." Says YouTube block. You talking about the Lego shit? Man, ain't no big deal. They can't stop nothing. Pittsburgh says the FBI says been doing illegal activities against black U.S. leaders, especially under J. Edgar Hoover. Says he was the FBI director from 24 to 48 years. And he says that's Fitzpatrick testimony documented by LA Times. Oh, the suspect here. So did they make you subscribe to that shit? Says this is a more, but I'm not gonna pull up any of the stuff you pull in there because I'm gonna get through this. But this for those in the chat who want to click on that shit. And then Steph says insightful writing says and says the saying here. It says yes indeed, life and truth. Absolutely. Like I say, man, when I heard this shit, like I said, we're talking the other day because I had brought up the I was like, man, it was some crazy. I was like tripping off the shit because we was going into some of that history. And I was like, I was tripping. Why I had watched Rock Newman present this video. Because we was talking about, what were we talking about? Where they were saying, no, that was about the movie. We had brought up something about the movie. Deuce Time came on. He was at my cousin. He was asking questions as it related to the nation and Malcolm and all that stuff. It was around that time when we were on the Friday show. And we bring up these comments. And I was like, man, I was bringing up about how they brought Betty Shabazz and Farrakhan, and I was thinking it was a meeting where Rock Newman had put this shit together. And then they had brought up a assassination plot against Farrakhan that was supposedly plotted by the daughter, but then it was the FBI. Farrakhan was already up on this shit. Like, nah, this girl ain't do this shit. She ain't organized that. This is something deeper than just her. They done pulled her in some shit. This shit got FBI written all over it, and in a righteous way. So this actual meeting that I had seen years ago was a fundraiser for this young lady. So let's listen to the honorable man, a true G, true American. Like I said, I put American on him. I don't let white people run narratives and how you speak on people, the way you recognize them, because they don't know shit. They've been so flawed and backwards. And I ain't gonna play all of it and play good part. I like his introduction into this shit. Let me move this shit up. And how well, he's just a great orator.
Thank you.
Let's turn this up. To American, you white folks watch this shit too. Y'all need to learn something. And the people y'all learn from
in the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, the one God, to whom praise is due. We thank him, and we can never thank him enough for his prophets and the scriptures which they brought. But if I lived to be 1,000, I could not thank him enough for his intervention in our affairs, in the person of Master Farad Muhammad, to whom praise is due forever, and for his raising up in our midst his messenger to us, the most honorable Elijah Muhammad. I greet all of you, my dear brothers and sisters, distinguished platform dignitaries, and our sister, Dr. Betty Shabazz, with the greeting words of peace. And we say it in the Arabic language, Assalamu alaikum. But it means peace be unto you. To this wonderful body of brothers and sisters who made this night possible, to Hakeem Madhubuti and to Leonard Farrakhan Muhammad, of course, first
all right,
to
so he's
Dr.
doing
Betty Shabazz,
his greetings. I'm gonna move it up a little bit.
to Mr. Sutton, Mr. Khan, and Entrap,
All right, here we go.
of those who attempt for his guidance to us.
Here we go. Here we go.
That caused us to see the snare and the trap in the evil machinations of those who attempted to ensnare and entrap the daughter of Malcolm X and Dr. Betty Shabazz. We thank Allah for his guidance to me and to us, that he enabled us to avoid
still feel a way about
an
him,
emotional response to the indictment of Sister Kubila that could have exacerbated present tensions and created an atmosphere similar to that which was created 30 years ago, that additional harm might be done to the Shabazz family, to the Nation of Islam, and to Black people in general. I am grateful to God for this moment in time, and I am forever in his debt for having guided us safely to this moment. I am grateful to Allah for this victory of our unity over the wicked machinations of those in positions of power who fear our rise and the consequence of our unity. I am grateful to the government of the United States for releasing Sister Kubila, that she may go on with her life. I am grateful to Allah for the response of Dr. Betty Shabazz to our efforts on behalf of Sister Kubila. And I am grateful to each and every one in this audience and in audiences across this nation whose hope is brightened and whose joy is heightened at the possibility of our reconciliation. There's a Chinese proverb that says that the journey of 1,000 miles begins with one step. The loss of the sacred life of Malcolm X is comparable to a 1,000-mile journey, and our efforts represent a first step in a long journey that we pray
Look how he's commanded the attention of these people.
To end with total reconciliation of us,
Harlem,
as members of one family. That as the Holy Quran teaches, that our latter days may be better than our former days. It is said that there's a thin line between love
and hate.
And love and hate carry the same emotional fervor. One is positive and the other is negative. One is creative and the other is destructive. But when one loves as deeply as we have loved each other, and then the bond is broken and hate replaces love, we are forced to ask the question, what changed our direction? What forces interfered with this bond? When a man loves a woman and a woman loves a man and the love turns to hate, it is more than likely this turn comes because of a sense of betrayal. To betray is to deliver or expose to an enemy by treachery or disloyalty. To be unfaithful in guarding or maintaining, to be disloyal to disappoint the hopes or expectations, to betray one's confidence, to betray a secret, to reveal unconsciously something one would preferably conceal, to deceive, to mislead, to reveal or disclose. Betrayal is when one loves and puts complete trust in an individual, religion, ideology, or program, and then that one feels that his or her confidence, trust, and loyalty was misplaced. This produces a breach, a chasm, a great divide that it does not appear that anyone is able to bridge. It is comparable to one's attempting to build a bridge from the west coast of the United States to the mainland of China. No engineer would be foolish enough to even attempt such. And certainly no one would wish to spend the money to do it, even if it could be done. And therefore, such a bridge would be considered improbable, unwise, and an impossible task. The probability of our being here today was unseen by any of us. The probability of a headline on the front page of the Final Call saying "Free Kubila" with a picture of Dr. Betty Shabazz and myself was unthinkable just a few short months ago. The fact that we are here today under these circumstances says that no ordinary architect was involved in building this bridge. This had to be the work of a mighty God who desires our unity and the reconciliation of us as in people. And so tonight I bow in complete submission and praise of Allah God for his great intervention that has given us this moment of victory. The scripture says, "This is the day that the Lord has made, so let us rejoice and be glad in it." Although this scripture is referring to the Sabbath, which is the Lord's day, this is a day or a period or a millennium given to heal the people who have been blinded and destroyed by the touch of Satan. This is the Sabbath. And we who have been blinded by the touch of Satan are in the process of being healed. I believe that the entrapment of Sister Kubila was part of a much wider conspiracy. There is no way that the government of the United States would permit Michael Summers Fitzpatrick, a member of the Jewish community, to assassinate Louis Farrakhan, knowing the possible repercussions that it could cause. I do not believe that the government wanted or wants a Caucasian person to be openly involved in an attempt
Look, he's
at
so
my
on point
assassination.
with this shit.
Their desire would be that a member of our own black family, preferably a Muslim or a nationalist, would attempt such to throw our whole house into complete chaos and confusion. The government admits that it worked night and day to bring about a separation between Brother Malcolm X and the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Once this division was accomplished, the government, by its own admission, had agents on both sides to manipulate the zeal and the ignorance inside the ranks of the Nation of Islam and among the followers of Brother Malcolm X to create the atmosphere that allowed him to be assassinated and the Nation of Islam to sustain wounds from which it has never recovered. The devastating resulting from this wicked machination.
He don't go into what's so key about what happened to the Nation of Islam back then. About how these people, because even that dude Fred be bringing on his show, and even Muhammad Ali's first wife, who I think I seen her recently on Art of Dialogue, I think the show she been on, but she been on Fred's show multiple times, but she was speaking about what happened when the nation had broke up following Elijah Muhammad's death, is how a lot of these people who's brought into this organization, because the Nation of Islam reaches out to people the way that church is supposed to. And they find people out of the prisons, people involved in the street world and this and that, clean them up. But a lot of these people weren't fully healed from what they were part of. They went right back into that shit as soon as the organization broke up. And they got into drugs, back into criminal shit, women and prostituting and things like that. So, but I think he's gonna get into that shit right now. Like Louis Farrakhan is so on point, man. Such a key figure, man, inside of America.
Sent many brothers and sisters from the Nation of Islam back into drugs, crime, insanity, and it caused the destruction of entire families. Sister Betty Shabazz and her family has not recovered. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad's family has not recovered. My family has not recovered. The Nation of Islam has not recovered. And black people have not recovered from these terrible wounds.
Dr. King, Death, all them other revolutionary leaders, man.
That there are those who do not want to see Sister Shabazz and I sit down to make an honest attempt at reconciliation when we are both victims of a wider conspiracy, a conspiracy that did not start with Malcolm X or the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, a conspiracy that certainly did not start with Sister Betty or myself.
Man, he's speaking
This
some real
conspiracy
shit.
started with the government of the United States because of its hatred of the movement that Malcolm X and the Honorable Elijah Muhammad had generated, and the effect that these two men were having on Black America. J. Edgar Hoover was determined that no Black Messiah would rise to unite our people in their quest of justice and true liberation. And untold sums of taxpayers' dollars were used by the FBI to hurt the legitimate movement of our people toward liberation. Our zeal, our love and hatred, our ignorance was manipulated by powerful outside forces. And the result
And that's why we say fuck
that
Donald
members
Trump.
of the Nation of Islam were involved in the assassination of Malcolm X. And the nation has taken the heat and carried the burden of the murder of Malcolm X. We cannot deny whatever our part was. That is true. But we must not let the real culprit get away hiding his hand and keep us fighting and killing one another.
Woo! Don't let it go over your motherfucking head, goddammit.
We didn't voluntarily split from each other. There was manipulation. There was stimulation of our own pettiness, of our own weaknesses by outside forces. And the government of America is that outside force. The FBI is that outside force. So Betty and I shouldn't be here alone. The government has to answer for what has happened here. We know the hurt of the prominent ones among us. But what about those other families? Families of the unnamed ones that are broken to pieces.
In the streets, in your
Daughters
hood.
who were virgins.
In your hood, the FBI
destroyed.
doing this shit. Come on.
Young men and women that had hope in a movement destroyed. Thousands of lives ruined because the government feared our unity. We carried no weapons. We threatened no laws. We broke no laws. But because we had an ideology and a philosophy that the government did not like, they didn't need laws passed by Congress to tap our phones.
Look, that's some cold shit when you talk about the Black movements. The Black movements weren't threatening movements. They weren't violent movements. They were none of that shit. And they were not anti-government, none of that shit. Just speaking about what's right and challenging what the fuck is wrong. But then you get these other little white groups, these militia groups and all this other shit that they let thrive and go unharmed and all this other shit. They'll sit there and watch these fools. But in that, they don't move in to destroy these groups. Like, he cooking on this shit. Cooking. And that's why people sit to listen to what this dude say. You ain't got to convert and all this shit, but you got to listen to what's real. Don't none of the religious leaders of this country move like this organization. And that's real shit.
Follow us around to harass us day and night. Today, no one criticizes the Europeans who fought a 30-year war, a 100-year war, and 2 world wars for sitting down to form a bond for the purpose of economic and political unity, though rivers of blood and millions of lives were lost to accomplish that goal.
Right? Man.
No one criticizes
Nobody
the Germans,
criticizes that
both
shit.
German Jews and non-Jews who sit together for
Oh, but there is an awakening amongst white people now. They starting to challenge this shit because I think they are listening. They are y'all seen what happened with JD Vance today, and over there with the little prostitute that Charlie Kirk was married to, Erica Kirk. She backed out. Nobody's showing up to her event. Them challenging these people, but they need to stop talking about Holocaust shit so much and start speaking on the things that America has done inside this country with people. Holocaust is in another nation. But man, Farrakhan is always on point. That's why I had to do this.
Years after the Holocaust,
Always.
an attempt to move forward for the sake of Germany. Their efforts are called progressive. People sat on the White House lawn and they applauded Yasser Arafat and Yitzhak Rabin for their efforts at reconciliation, although bitter hatred exists between the Arab world and Israel.
Oh, that's the one Netanyahu had killed. Yitzhak Rabin is his name. All when he tried to go for peace with Arafat. This little demonic motherfucker, Benjamin Netanyahu, had that dude killed.
Between them is received with great joy throughout the world. The Irish and the British, who have been at war with one another for years, now come together across pools of their people's blood. Yet their handshake has been received with gladness. In South Africa, Nelson Mandela sat down with his persecutors, and the world saw by satellite a black man become president of a country that we never believed we would live to see such happen. And applause was made at an attempt to reconcile differences, even though years and years of
people are going with reconciling. Same thing in our streets. We're gangs to reconcile.
The Crips and the Bloods,
hey, there we go,
down in a sincere attempt to reconcile and make peace. They are the object of scorn and mockery. And when it was learned that Sister Betty and I would meet and speak this evening, became world news. But how will you treat our simple and meager steps? Some of our own people are guilty of scorn and mockery. I wouldn't sit down with him, Sister Betty, they said. Mr. Sutton, why are you defending Kubila? They said. How could you do this, Farrakhan? They said. But you, who scorn our efforts, you can excuse America for 400 years of the worst enslavement in the annals of history.
Hey.
You who scorn and mock our humble beginning of a ruptured family trying to make it back together. But you're willing to fight and die just to sit with your oppressor. You are happy to be accepted by your oppressor without reparation or consideration. Yet you would mock us for sitting down to try and carve out a future for our people. The Chinese and the Japanese were enemies for centuries, but today they talk of peace. The Americans and the Vietnamese today are making plans to exchange ambassadors after a bitter, costly war. Why do people sit down and talk after hatred and bitterness and bloodshed has been between them? Because it is the hope of man and woman to solve the problems that keep us from enjoying peace, happiness, and security. Why then would any of you mock this humble beginning toward the resolution of conflict. This is why we want the files
The
of
resolution
Malcolm
of
X
conflict.
to be open so that the world may see the real truth of what went down.
Yeah.
We want the truth to be made known so that we as a people can be made free of suspicion and of doubt. And let the truth condemn whomever the truth would condemn. But the people must go free. And we
white,
in the
black,
nation of
Asian,
Islam,
Mexican,
as well as
Salvadorian,
those outside of the
Venezuelan,
nation of
Jamaican.
Islam, need to
Nobody
know
speaks
all
like this
of the
dude.
truth
None
as
of
it
them.
relates to the
None of these religious
assassination
groups.
of
None
Brother
of them.
Malcolm X.
No politician. None of them. And they want to silence this dude. Absolutely not.
In my short meeting with Sister Betty Shabazz, she spoke for a few minutes, and in that few minutes that she spoke, I understood that there's something about this whole drama that I don't know, because I don't know her side. And if you don't know her side, and if you don't know what she went through, and if you don't know why she made the decisions that she made, how can we say we know the truth? We know our side, but we don't know her side, and we may not know all of our side, but the government knows all of the sides.
They done hired a Jew to start all this shit.
Files up.
Crazy.
Let us all see lying demons. They know that Farrakhan had nothing to do with the murder of Brother Malcolm X.
Absolutely. Calling their ass out. Absolutely.
My zeal and love for the Honorable Elijah Muhammad was manipulated. In the government's releasing of Kubila and not taking this case to trial, in one sense, it is a great victory, but in another sense, this protects those in government who were involved in the conspiracy. It protects those who paid Fitzpatrick. And it protects the wider scheme of my planned assassination from coming to light. You don't think that the government was stupid enough and dumb enough to concoct such a foolish thing as that? It was a wider scheme.
Man.
It never was to come to trial. It was supposed to lure me into a fight with Dr. Shabazz and her children.
Man, hey, peep how he was on their plots and never bit into that shit. That's why I always talk this shit about thinking. I find so much stupid, retarded shit amongst people and beefs and murders and oh my God, this shit bugs me the fuck out. And why it's important to listen to this shit and knowing what the fuck you're watching. That's what bugs me even politically when motherfuckers don't know what they're watching. Like knowing what the fuck is being plotted. These motherfuckers are simpletons. And that's why it's so easy for Louis Farrakhan and the nation to spot this shit. Try to pull this girl into this shit with a white dude. I mean, this girl's just out here lost in her direction in life, lost her father. Like, come on. And they try to pull this white dude in to setting this girl up, having this white dude and all type of FBI shit, paying this motherfucker, never arresting him. He can go and sell dope and all this other shit. Like, come on, man. Like you say, man, the plots with this government, he didn't even challenge the government, release them fucking files. Release all that shit. Same thing they did with LA. The reason why they hate Maxine Waters and other stupid niggas who ever have negative shit to say about Maxine Waters, you need to slap your monkey ass up because you're a retarded motherfucker who don't know what the fuck is being presented and thrown at you. Some of you niggas have so much to say about political motherfuckers who look like you are females, but nothing to say about these white dudes who are the crooks that set these type of plots up. Some of you niggas just retarded. Some of you niggas in here who are also my brothers, who I respect, but not on no political shit. Because you niggas are slow on shit. And this Donald Trump shit is waking you motherfuckers up. It has exposed a lot of you motherfuckers, and it just shows how you need to be careful in what you pride and parade and hoot and holler about. But it's also a lot of shit going on, especially for these so-called street ninja motherfuckers, especially. Like this shit right here is probably some shit needs to watch. Rather somebody be able to take information to you about what somebody else said about you. Don't follow that old COINTELPRO ass shit. Don't follow that COINTELPRO shit. The motherfuckers just creating other chaos that they sit back and laugh about. And come on, man. This shit is so on point with what everything this dude is saying, man. This is why people rock with the Honorable, man. This is why they rock with him, man.
If they paid $45,000,
they paid that dude $45,000.
This cheap hustler. How much money have they put in other sections of the community?
Hey,
this is no light thing. They had a full range plan. That man knew what his job was. But there are others.
Man. And that relates back to what was with Malcolm
we didn't
shit.
Fall into the trap. Not because we are brilliant, but because God has guided us and history has taught us.
History has taught us. When you pay attention to that shit. Look, these women ain't loud. These women ain't ghetto-fied. None of that shit.
Who are engaged in the struggle
they ain't disruptive.
For justice are free from errors.
And that's the other thing I want to point out with this crowd. And what even with the nation, man, it ain't none a bunch of that undisciplined shit. You're gonna be loud, disruptive, and over the top and colorful and having to show your ass and be seen. Ain't none of that shit. You can clap, get yours off, sit your ass fuck down, shut it up. Like it's discipline.
Humility is a characteristic that oftentimes is taken as weakness, but it is the greatest characteristic of a righteous human being. It is humility, not pride and arrogance, that allows us the ability to see our own mistakes and errors. It is humility that allows us to seek forgiveness for our wrongs. It is humility that allows us to be willing to atone for our sins. To be humble means having a feeling of insignificance, subservience. But the Bible says one should not think more of oneself than one should. The Holy Quran teaches you can tell the righteous, for they walk the earth in humbleness. This characteristic has to be present in us if wounds are to be healed. Any of us who struggle in this great cause of justice and liberation have no doubt offended others who are also involved in the same struggle. Or we have offended those on the sidelines who watch us as we struggle. The Bible teaches, for in many things we offend all, but if any man offend not in word, the same is a perfect man and able also to bridle the whole body. None of us are blessed to be perfect. So in some way, we have hurt others in our attempt to struggle for justice for our people. This hurt and offense created by words, deeds, misunderstandings, misinterpretations, suspicion, and slander, all are part of our human condition, which demands redress. But if we are humble, no matter what our position or station in life, we will recognize wrong when it is pointed out to us and seek forgiveness and make atonement. Forgiving each other is not only necessary, but it is divinely commanded as we struggle with ourselves and as we struggle to build righteous character as we move toward the liberation of our people. And if we cannot forgive each other and set aright our actions and correct the wrongs, then we will go down into the dust from whence we sprung, having left to a future generation the legacy of our arrogance, hatred, bitterness, and our unwillingness.
Hey, ain't that the truth about how a lot of the fucking conflicts amongst these hoods are? And that is some real shit. This is about cleaning shit up, cleaning yourself up, cleaning the community up. This is about that, man, to watch these two come together. This is the wife of Malcolm X and Louis Farrakhan coming together when the FBI tried to set a plot into speaking as if they stopped the assassination attempt on him by the daughter of Malcolm X to create a further conflict with this family. He like, nah. We like to be able to recognize this shit and see there is something deeper to this shit. That woman ain't did that shit. Even it may have been in her heart to probably knock me off. We ain't rocking with that shit. That's why I say I love this shit. I love this shit.
The example for our children. Peter asked Jesus, Master, how often shall I forgive?
And I'm gonna let it go for 5 more minutes and I'll.
And Jesus answered 70 times 7 times. Why such a number? 70 times 7 actually represents infinity. The spirit of forgiveness is absolutely and vitally necessary to effect redemption, restoration, and reconciliation. We have a prayer that is recorded in the Holy Quran that reads, I have been unjust to myself, and I confess my faults.
Let me pause that. This is 95, so mine, that's like 30 years ago. 30 years ago. Homie, I'm a black motherfucker. This should be, like I say, I ain't no crying motherfucker, but this should be like, man, this should make, a little water well up in the eye, because you gotta respect righteous shit amongst our people. How, I wouldn't say urgent, not no panic shit, but how necessary it is to just be a cleaned up ass people. And it's just simple as that. You can remain yourself, be swagged out, be as cool as you want to be just full of life, but be cleaned up. Keep the other motherfuckers around us cleaned the fuck up. We can joke, have our laughter and all, be cleaned up. Not backstabbing motherfuckers, plotting against each other, setting motherfuckers up, doing just way out shit that we have seen been done to us, have been done. This ain't no recent shit. This has been done, shit done to us for back even when his nation was at its strength, leading to the occurrences of these assassinations amongst great motherfuckers. And like he said, how bad it affected not just these organizations, but black folks. And a lot of times you don't even see the cruel effects of a lot of this shit from this country. This is why I tell motherfuckers be fucked up. Even when I was at work, motherfuckers fucked up hearing me say this shit. Amongst a whole bunch of white folks in the company, when they try, well, you're in the military and you're disciplined, this and that. This around the George Floyd shit. And I tell them, man, my enemies was the motherfuckers I served with. My enemies was the motherfuckers I served with. Not no motherfuckers over in Iraq and Afghanistan. None of that shit. That's why I be showing the white dude, because just as the proof of when I tell these stories about the shit, about what I was on, the white dude to the right in this picture was a white dude these motherfuckers try to use to kick me out because they put this motherfucking bullshit in my unit because I didn't take shit from none of them white motherfuckers in my unit. And I used to be the highlight of what I say. I don't kiss white people ass. And in fact, I used to check these motherfuckers. They didn't see me spit on motherfuckers, then slam motherfucking MPs and shit. And they thing was I was a raging black, supposedly black nationalist racist that hated white folks. And they moved me in with this white roommate of mine towards the end of my military enlistment. And they thing was I was going to attack this white dude and then have him because he was big enough to defend himself. And then that's when they can start their paperwork of kicking me out to dishonorably discharge me from the fucking military. Like, come on, homie. This the shit I relate to. Absolutely. Says clean your house first, says then help the community. Says help says help the dogs across the street, across the bend. Sorry. Help the dogs across the bend. And the Salute I Know Boxing says, peace, brothers and sisters. Salute. But let's get back into it, man. Prolific shit, homie. It don't get no better than this dude right here, homie. Yeah, fuck what you talk inside of America. It don't get no better than what they have going on here. It don't get no better within the Democratic, Republican parties. It don't get no better than what's in the White House. It don't get no better than what's at the Catholic Church, the Christian Church, the Hindu Church, all these new arrival of different Islamic faiths, and it don't get no better than this shit right here. It don't get no better than what's in school, what's in your gang, inside your neighbor. It don't get no better than this shit. And this ain't no hatred shit. This is a group who doesn't even believe in carrying weapons. But then you let motherfuckers run a narrative about this dude and about Malcolm and all this other shit. This is a group that doesn't believe in weapons. That's like, because it was the other day, I remember CJ was saying that shit when they were on the clown. He was bringing up something about, I think it was when Megazars walked around with the chains on and was speaking about, because they in Texas. Like, I know you got a bunch of guns and shit. It was like, but being they in the Nation of Islam, they don't believe in weapons and shit. So they don't carry it. And he confirmed that. These is people who ain't even armed. They don't even got to walk around with weapons and shit. And people know not to fuck with this organization. It don't get no better than this shit. And then listen to how these people talk. And when you look at some people that have cleaned themselves up and joined this shit, these are some of the people that many of the churches that people are part of look down upon this shit. Like, so you gotta respect this. And then we look at the formation of this organization with Elijah Muhammad, the time period in which they started. And when you look at the way in which black people carry themselves, especially in a white racist society and afraid to be black, and this shit just changed the dynamics of the black pride shit. Like, come on, homie. You got to respect this shit. And the fact that the government has tried all this shit to destroy this shit. Cold shit. Let me
against all my faults, for none grants protection against faults but thee. Each Muslim is asked to say this prayer, bearing witness of our injustice to self. Now, you know, if we're unjust to self, we are bound to be unjust to others. Absolutely. And therefore, we must seek protection against our faults, and we must be quick in this struggle to forgive, particularly those of us who are well-intentioned. The disciples asked Jesus, Master, teach us how to pray.
This is 31
and he gave
years
his
ago.
followers a prayer that has become the oft-repeated prayer of Christians. It is called the Lord's Prayer. And in it, Jesus teaches his followers to pray, and there's a particular verse that the supplicant asks God to forgive our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. To trespass is an unlawful act causing injury to the person, property, or
just
right.
like what's going on with the scumbag Trump doing that shit in Iran.
Of another committed with force or violence, actual or implied, a wrongful entry upon the lands of another, an encroachment of intrusion, an offense, a sin, or a wrong. Jesus knew that even if we followed his teachings, we still would not be free from the commission of sin or injury. So he asked us to pray to the Father for forgiveness for our sins, but he also asked us to have the spirit of forgiveness toward those who have sinned against us. 3 great acts of forgiveness I will mention. The Quran calls the narrative on the life of Joseph as the most beautiful of narratives. The story is tragic.
And I'll
A
end after this
man
story.
being sold into bondage by his own brothers who were envious of him. But he did not respond to his brothers with bitterness and hatred, but he used a heart of mercy. That's where the real beauty was. His heart was so beautiful because it was a heart after God's heart. And so Joseph's heart was used to reconcile the brothers with the father and with each other.
Taylor Bill, salute, bro.
Christians always talk about Jesus's torment, and in the midst of excruciating pain on the cross, he said, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. Now, our enemies have been doing what they do a long time.
Right.
And
But
we
they
have
know
been
not
very quick
what they do. They do know what they're doing, but they don't know
to
what they're
forgive
doing.
them. But we have been made very ignorant and not full of love for self. So in our dislike of self, we have blundered and hurt one another tremendously, but we don't have the willingness to forgive a father or forgive a mother, a sister, or a brother who has offended us. But Jesus forgave his tormentors. The Prophet Muhammad, in conquering Mecca, forgave all of his enemies. If we, in the closing years of the 20th century, can humble ourselves when we are wrong, pray and seek forgiveness and reconciliation, if we can do this, then this moment of victory that we celebrate this evening will lead to a great victory, celebration in the 21st century, the celebration of our total liberation in the United States of America and throughout the earth. This wound in the Black nation over the assassination of Malcolm X, this wound in the nation of Islam over his assassination cannot be healed except by the knowledge of truth and justice being done in accordance with truth. Although the Holy Quran holds prophets and messengers of God blameless and sinless, the Quran states that if God were to punish man for his sins, not one soul would be left alive on the earth. This is why in the nature of God, the quality of mercy is predominant. There is a dark side to the moon. But Allah keeps the bright side.
We just came from the
Facing
moon.
the earth.
Hey,
Because the dark side cannot ripen fruit and crops. We neither can plant or harvest by the dark side of the moon.
she finger waved out. Look at it.
Nothing
She got
can
right.
be nurtured by the dark side of the moon. It is only the bright side of the moon, that side that reflects the light of the sun, that is used in the nurturing process. The moon symbolically represents the prophets of God. They are shown in the Quran and Bible as nurturers of their communities. Even though they have faults, God keeps their bright side in front of the people. David the psalmist said, "Blessed is he whose transgression is forgiven, whose sin is covered." But the enemy of God and the enemy of man is always probing the dark side of human nature to use it to help us in self-destruction and in the destruction of others. He listens to our conversations.
Right on.
And he watches us from whence we see him not. And his aim is to say to God, "Look at those whom you have chosen. None of them are worthy." The Bible teaches that this wicked one accused the prophets and the righteous night and day before the throne. But it is written that this wicked one will be cast down. This year, October 16th, 1995, we propose a 1,000,000-man march on Washington, and we call it the Day of Atonement, meaning at one, coming together as one, being at one, reconciling our differences. The Quran talks about Satan as the accursed one.
Now, don't y'all go calling that number. This is back from 95. And this is the crazy part. Like what they brought up is once this announcement is made about this organizing of this march down in Washington, and it turned out to be a huge goddamn success. All of a sudden this plot comes up, and then they going after this young lady or this daughter of Betty Shabazz and Malcolm X. And like I say, Malcolm and it wasn't, I mean, not Malcolm, but Louis Farrakhan wasn't buying into that shit at all. They knew what it was. They knew who set this shit up, who plotted that shit. It was as simple as that. Like, this is some righteous ass shit. This is about as righteous as it gets. And like I said, I had seen this years ago, but I never knew it was to speak on this assassination thing. I never heard that there was this plot, man. So, but let's go back into. I'll let this last part end, and then I'm gonna call it an end.
One removed from God.
I done said that like 20 minutes
Sin
ago and still
makes
complaining.
us remote from God.
Is
And
it
any
cooking?
human being who is removed from God is removed from power, from the sensitivity that is necessary to cultivate the better qualities of self. Sin has brought about this breach. Our lack of oneness with one another is a sign of our lack of oneness with God. And so on this Day of Atonement, we are asking the government of America to acknowledge her sins against the people. We're going to acknowledge ours. But America has to acknowledge her sins against the people.
Absolutely.
She has to repent.
And look, this goes back to the
atonement.
dummy Andrew Charles who hears my comments as it relates to this war and Trump's actions. Andrew Charles, you better go listen to this shit like 2 times so you can wake the fuck up. And many other whites who ain't hip this shit, going back and watch this shit about 10 times and reject that shit of these damn places of worship y'all go to that don't teach you shit of substance, which leaves you lost, confused, and then supporting this dumb shit that Trump and them on, and they can sit there and talking about God and Christ and all this shit, and God blessed us in war. Why you killing motherfuckers? Like, get the fuck out of here with that dumbass shit. So before you speak in these chats and write that dumbass shit, when you hear me speaking about Iran and them having their successes in that shit and it being some you motherfuckers ain't American at shit. Because a real American would never justify that shit, just like a real Americans didn't justify that Vietnam shit. You're not protecting yourself. You ain't doing none of that shit. The history of America and its wicked shit ain't to be fucking praised, highlight, and none of that shit. Always right with your boy, boy. Let's continue on.
For her sin.
It's so hard for me to stop that shit because he just, man, god damn, it don't, like I say, it don't get no better than this, man.
Against the struggle of poor and black people for justice. The Nation of Islam, the Black Panther Party, the Civil Rights Movement, other organizations, black and white, with whom the government has some ideological or philosophical disagreement. Perhaps in the government's making atonement, she can help herself and her people toward making a new beginning. The government of America has to turn away from the abuse of power and authority. Turn away from that which is wicked, improper, and unrighteous. And whether the government atones or not, let us do this so that the gaping wound in us and our families and our people as a whole may be healed. In conclusion, it is written, if my people who are called by my name shall humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways, then will I hear from heaven, and I will forgive their sin and heal their land. As I leave you, approximately 10 years ago, Sister Betty, I had a dream about Brother Malcolm. A dream that was so real to me, I've only quoted it once in Detroit, Michigan. In this dream, Brother Malcolm came to me. There was a hint of gray in his hair, which signified that he had aged, and it was about a time when he would have been 60 years old. This year, I believe, he would have been 70. And he came to me and said, Brother Lewis, what went wrong? And because I walked a ways in his shoes, I explained to him in the dream what I experienced in the nation,
all facts,
similar to his, and what I believe went wrong. When I finished speaking with him, he said he was going to seek the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and make some attempt at reconciliation. My heart was filled with joy because I knew that with Malcolm by my side in the struggle for our people, I would be so greatly strengthened. When I awakened from the dream, I was troubled. I wanted to know why, after years, I would dream a dream like this and see him so real, having aged about 20 years from the last time I had seen him. And there, Sister Betty Shabazz, in that same year, I was making a speech in Los Angeles.
Yes, indeed.
Before I made the speech, a mutual friend connected me in a telephone conversation with Sister Attila Shabazz, Malcolm's oldest daughter, whom I felt very close to when she was a little girl. This is the first time in those 10 years.
I was trying to end this a while ago and I can't. Like, that's how powerful this shit is.
But when I spoke to Attila, she spoke to me of tremendous pain.
About to play the whole thing.
Pain that she felt as a daughter. That on the 19th of May, so many students would invite her to come and speak, but she would have rather visited her father on his birthday.
They
She
lost
thought
their
about a
dad.
son that she might have, or a child that she might have, that she would like to see sitting on the lap of its grandfather. And she said, that will never be now. I don't recall how long we spoke. I listened a lot. But when I finished that call with Sister Attila, as God is my witness, for nearly the next year, my prayers to Allah were constantly to heal Attila and to heal the Shabazz family and to heal us. And little did I know that 10 years later, a negative and unfortunate circumstance would be used by God to cause us to sit and talk with each other. It is my fervent prayer and my hope that a dialogue between Betty Shabazz and myself will be encouraged to continue. And it is my fervent hope and prayer that the children of Malcolm X and Betty Shabazz, the children of Jesse Jackson, the children of Martin Luther King, the children of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and the children of Louis Farrakhan will come together and write a new chapter in our people's struggle for justice, free of the pain of their parents and the mistakes and errors of the parents. We pray Allah's forgiveness for our mistakes and errors. And I personally pray that Allah will allow the heart of Sister Shabazz and her children and us to face truth. And in that spirit, if I have been wrong or wronged, I will seek forgiveness and will petition Allah and
That's a fact, Pitt. That's a fact. Man, that shit's so powerful, man. And I just, man, this is all me, man. That's type of shit I'll be on in this type of conversation and talk. Shit down there have a motherfucker eye worn up. And I'm a person who don't do that what do you call that? Shedding tears and crying shit. But powerful, man. Extremely powerful, so necessary to watch, and just how powerful that moment was, what it was about. And the fact why the FBI pulled this bullshit. They saw through this shit and turned the FBI attempts into some positive shit. And the fact that they were able to bring the community together, pull their resources to help gain this young lady a huge defense fund and whatever else the money would be used for to help fight her case, to where they even speak about the government didn't even want to fucking take the situation to trial, but they made this woman go through some sort of programs and things like that. And in the midst of that, her son, who is named after her father, has to go live with Betty Shabazz, and that's the same kid who ended up killing Betty Shabazz, setting the house on fire because he wanted his mother back. And that's just the tragedy in that situation, what comes up out of this shit, which is, new history to me. Like I said, I've seen this before, but I thought something Rock Newman put together to try to mend their situations. I had no idea there was assassination talk set up by the FBI using a white man. The white man got paid off while this black woman, who was the daughter of Malcolm X, ends up going through all this shit, creating the issues with her child, where her child feels abandoned, wanted his mother back. And it goes about what he talked about reconciliation. And you look at even in our communities, how we kill each other and shit. And then imagine what happens with the children of these people being killed off. Trust me, I know plenty of people who've let me turn that camera off for a nigga be feeling these tears, like, because I say I'm true to being black, true to the motherfucker. And I don't believe in being on that crybaby shit. But going into this shit with people who've been killed in these streets, children out here without fathers and shit, and what we do that shit for. And even when we listen to this language, people talk ops and how it's popularized, the way people get on TV to fucking perpetrate this old fake ass bitch made new age gangster shit like it's something cool. Man, that shit needs to be deadened within a quickness, like in the morning time. Once the sun, that type of shit needs to be deadened. And then you watch the effects of that shit. I've seen that shit throughout my young life, the effects of that shit. I've seen that shit, what it did, like I said, as a kid, what affected me the most was watching my neighbor get killed. But more than that, what that shit did to his daughter. Her running out there to go try to, like, you know how people start going, like, they run into some shit. And, you know, they show it in films sometimes, but me to see it in real life, like this girl run out there and seeing her dad, who she loved, this girl's like a teen, and jumps on top of her dad's body, like trying to lift him up. That's the first time that shit was like strange to me, man. And this girl was like, to be on that shit, she probably covered in his blood and shit. They had to pull that girl, really lost her fucking mind after that shit. And was never the same. A lot of people I know like that ain't the fucking same. But that's all I got. I'm gonna catch y'all on the next one. This was powerful shit. But peace.